Hi there, welcome to this channel. My name is Victoria and you're very welcome to this particular office where we talk about and advocate for universal laws and practicing love. Now the subject matter of this particular video series is all about the first quarter of immigration, but specifically immigration with children. And the structure of this video series is that in part 1 I will set out a particular fact scenario followed by some universal laws that are at play for this particular topic. Part 2 will be all about the application and practicing love in the context of it being, your experience of the first quarter immigrating with children. And then part 3 will be all about, the wrap up, conclusion, advice, any next steps that you might wish to take away with you and practice in your own personal life. So in terms of the facts, so I made a video which I will link down below, a video series about the first quarter of immigration, and the focus there was on the adult, the actual immigrant, and hopefully inspiring other immigrants out there to be able to actually practice love and have some practical tips up their sleeve as to how they might be able to practice love, through thinking love, speaking love, and doing love, which is the holy trinity of love in my world. And the inspiration for this particular video series is all about, it's sort of an extension of that, which is, well, what happens if you're immigrating with children. And so the perspective is more about how can the adult, so the mom and dad or the guardian, actually assist children who have also experienced the journey across the border overseas, so we're talking about a significant relocation here, not just down the road, but actually moving countries, going across borders. And in my world, the children is anyone under the age of 18 effectively. So that could be newborns, babies, toddlers, young kids, school-age children, and all the way up to teenagers, right? So grab a cup of tea or coffee. I've got coffee this time around, or a glass of water. I've got one here as well. If you're interested to hear more about how we can practice love in the context of immigrating with children, and specifically the first quarter of their journey, right? So it's the first 3 months of their immigration journey. And a little bit of disclaimer before I jump into the universal laws that are at play. Remember that each immigrant's journey is actually unique and quite special. Different circumstances will apply to different families, and it's very important, I suspect, to adopt any kind of suggestions or recommendations or practical tips that I will set out during the course of these 3 parts to your specific circumstances, right? Be open-minded, embrace anything that I might say today, but at the same time, think for yourself. Your family best, your children best, and just do what's right for you and what resonates with you, okay? Even if it's not the practical tips that I will lay out during the course of the video series, but even if you take away the principle that I'm encouraging everybody to act on, which is thinking love and speaking love and doing love, but you might do it in a different manner, please do so. You do you, and because it's very important for you to do that for the benefit of your own children. And as well as, I am a mom myself. I have a toddler, 2-year-old daughter. I wholeheartedly know how anything she does and everything I try and teach her or encourage her in her personal growth and development, it has to be age appropriate, right? And therefore, your kids, what stage of life they're in, and so some of the practical tips you might have to tweak and to make sure that they're flexible and fit for purpose for your family dynamic, for your own kids, okay? So that's just the only disclaimer I have to make there. So if we jump into the universal laws that are at play, and here I might say that you may wish to watch the video series that I made on the first quarter of immigration for adults. As I said, I will link it down below in the description box. If you haven't watched it already, I cover 3 universal laws there. These are going to be slightly different because the context here is universal laws in the context of children and immigrating with children. So the first one that comes to mind is the transformation of energy. You know, energy can't be created or destroyed, but it does transform. And so, in the context of immigration, we've got in children. You know, think about it's sort of a completion for them of the life that they had pre-immigration and a new beginning in a new place of residence, the new country that they have just moved into. So there's a huge transformation happening there. And you know, for kids, they might feel that the whole world has completely flipped upside down, and the immigration as a milestone will feel significant to adults, but it might even feel so much more to kids, just because of the fact that they haven't had the life experience that you may have had in the past, dealing with various obstacles and challenges, and you know, even micro type movements that you may have had in your life. Kids at that point may not have had that same life experience. So such a significant milestone like immigration, you know, going back, moving away from what they know and what is familiar and what they're comfortable in, to a zone, an area that is completely new. It's going to be a huge transformation for them. With that, if we go and move on to the second universal law, it's all about growth and development. Of course, a new country, new place of residence, you know, new education place, you know, be that daycare or school or any other education facility that your kids might go to. New people will give them new opportunities, and any kind of new opportunity, new experience will result in some kind of growth and development, right? Whether that be in the physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual areas of their life, any kind of new experience will result in growth and development. And ultimately, the third universal law I would like to talk about is actually my, you know, number one universal law that I love to talk about and discuss, and it's all about love. You know, the feeling of love, the force of love. In my world, love is an energy, but I also think it's more than that. It's like a super energy. It's a force, and that's why I encourage people to practice more love on a daily basis, because you will then get it back more in return. And if you think a little bit about your kids, right, and the immigration. If an adult, you know, the parent, the guardian, has had the freedom of choice to actually make the decision to structure their life in a manner that resulted in the immigration, and you know, travel to another country and relocation, well, the kids just kind of had to do that, right? They don't truly get the freedom of choice. If you know, the parent has decided to move, they kind of have to just go with the flow, with the family dynamic, and you know, move with the parents. So if you think about that, perhaps this is a scenario where your kids just deserve feeling a little bit more love than perhaps previously you may have shown them, and they will definitely, I think, cherish and really embrace the love of their family, you know, the ones that are closest to them during that immigration and during that move, and that will be your close, tight-knit family. And I am all about practicing love, and I think it's very good, place, you know, given that I touched upon this universal law, for us to jump into part 2, which is the application of these universal laws, and specifically, you know, the practicing of love. Thinking love, speaking love, and doing love. So I'll see you shortly in part 2 of this video series.